Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a massive leap forward in how we approach workplace safety. For years, the absolute gold standard has been having an AED, an automated external defibrillator mounted on the wall. And don't get me wrong, that is fantastic. But we really need to ask ourselves, is a solitary defibrillator actually enough for the realities of today's workplace? It's time to elevate those safety standards, move way beyond the basics, and build a truly complete, modernized emergency response station. Okay, let's dive right in. Here is our roadmap for building this modernized strategy. First up, rethinking workplace emergency response. Second, the anatomy of the station. Third, 3 rules for success. Fourth, training and maintenance. And lastly, upgrading your program. So, starting off with Section 1, rethinking workplace emergency response. To build a better safety protocol, we first have to acknowledge a pretty hard truth. The emergencies actually happening in modern workplaces have evolved. We just can't prepare for only one type of crisis anymore. I want you to take a second and actively think about your own facility. Where exactly is your workplace first aid kit right now? Seriously, picture it. Chances are you know exactly where the AED is, right? It's proudly mounted in a glass cabinet out in the main hallway. But that first aid kit? It's probably shoved in a random break room desk drawer. Maybe it's covered in dust, missing half its supplies, completely out of sight. This scattered approach to life-saving tools is exactly what we need to change. The old way of doing things is, well, it's highly fragmented. The AED is on the wall, the first aid kit is hidden in a drawer, and the safety binder is buried somewhere on a manager's desk. The new way, the strategy used by the most prepared organizations out there, relies on one absolutely crucial design principle: co-location. It is all about bringing every single emergency capability together into one clearly marked, highly visible hub. Let's move on to Section 2, anatomy of the station. Now, what's really interesting here is how we're going to build what is essentially the ultimate utility belt for workplace safety, and we'll do it layer by careful layer. This comprehensive strategy breaks down into 5 distinct manageable layers: the anchor, the trauma layer, the overdose layer, the airway layer, and finally, the foundation. Right at the top, acting as the focal point of the whole shebang, is our anchor, the AED. Let's look at exactly why it commands that top spot. 10%. That is the unforgiving math of sudden cardiac arrest. Literally, for every single minute that defibrillation is delayed, a person's chance of survival drops by roughly 10%. That is exactly why the AED gets the central location, the prominent signage, and the main wall cabinet. It handles the most time-critical emergency a workplace will ever face. And here's the best part. Every other layer we add is going to strategically benefit from the high visibility that the AED already creates. But the clock is ticking on other emergencies too. 3 to 5. That's how many minutes it can take for severe hemorrhage to become fatal. It is the exact same unforgiving math as cardiac arrest. This is why our trauma layer, a stop-the-bleed-align kit packed with tourniquets, hemostatic gauze, and pressure bandages, needs to be right there as an essential neighbor to the AED. A basic first aid kit was just never designed for severe equipment injuries, but this trauma layer absolutely is. Next up is the overdose layer. Tragically, opioid overdoses have become a leading cause of workplace fatalities nationally. But here is the good news. Naloxone, which you might know as Narcan nasal spray, is over-the-counter, takes up less space than a tiny box of gloves, and is incredibly safe. Even if you suspect an overdose, you administer it, and you happen to be wrong, it is completely harmless to the person. It offers massive reassurance in a very, very small package. Then we have the airway layer. We all know the standard first-line responses for choking, right? Back blows and abdominal thrusts. But what happens when those fail, or maybe they just can't be performed because of a person's position or size? That's where an anti-choking suction rescue device steps in. Keeping this at the station covers that critical gap when standard first aid just isn't enough. Finally, we wrap up our anatomy build with the foundation layer. This is your standard ANSI-classified first aid kit. It's there to handle those high-frequency, low-severity events. The paper cuts, the minor scrapes, the twisted ankles. Having this foundation layer ensures your entire station remains fully OSHA compliant for everyday injuries while seamlessly integrating with your critical life-saving tools. Moving right along to Section 3, 3 rules for success. Because let's be real, having all this amazing gear on hand is only half the battle. If we don't have operational rules in place to manage it, the station won't actually work when a real emergency strikes and panic sets in. So the crucial point is how we deploy these tools. Step 1, co-locate everything. Under intense stress, human beings can really only remember one location. The AED cabinet location should be the emergency location, full stop. Step 2, track expirations as one system. Everything from AED pads to hemostatic gauze expires, and you need to monitor them together. And step 3, train the layers together. Let's actually explore what that tracking and training looks like. Which brings us to section 4, training and maintenance. It's time to talk about how we sustain this beautifully unified system so it remains constantly response ready rather than just becoming an expensive, expired decoration on your wall. Look at how simple maintenance becomes when you consolidate. Instead of tracking different kits on completely different days, you just implement a monthly unified inspection. You check the AED status indicator, verify the dates on your pads and batteries, make sure the naloxone and dressings haven't expired, and eyeball your first aid consumables. You do this single visual check once a month, log it, and boom, you're done. One comprehensive system literally means one simple checklist. And let's see how this builds into your training schedule. Your baseline is usually a certified CPR, AED, and first aid course, which already covers choking. To cover our new expanded station, you just add a Stop the Bleed module and a very brief naloxone administration overview. Adding this trauma and overdose training only takes about 90 extra minutes combined. So one slightly extended training cycle produces responders who are fully equipped to use every single tool on that wall. Finally, section 5, upgrading your program. I really want to encourage you here because adopting this comprehensive, multi-layered safety strategy is highly achievable for any organization. It might sound like a lot at first, but you are likely much closer to this goal than you think. As our source material beautifully states, completing the station is an exercise in addition, not reinvention. Think about it. If you already have an AED program running today, you've actually done the heavy lifting. You have this central location, the habit of looking for signage, the inspection rhythm, and the training cadence established. You aren't starting from scratch at all. You are simply adding crucial capabilities to your existing anchor. So I'll leave you with one final critical question to ask yourself. Is your workplace truly readied for the emergencies your people might actually face today? Not just a heart attack, but a severe bleed, an overdose, or a critical choking incident. I highly encourage you to take a walk through your facility today, hunt down those scattered supplies, and just consider how much safer everyone would be if you brought it all together into one unified station. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there.